It's Friday, June 2nd. Welcome, everybody, to the Aravosis Report. I am John Aravosis, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., where we are here to talk about the latest news from Ukraine. As always, let me get TikTok rolling here on my iPad, and then we will wait about 2 minutes for folks to arrive on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, etc. The message sort of goes out, and then it takes a couple of minutes for folks to get here. So introduce yourselves while we are waiting, as always. Ooh. Just a little bit of coffee for a pick me up, not too much, hopefully. So I'm not flying throughout the show. I see Ben had something else in mind. I can't drink and do things like this because I totally lose my memory. I mean, short term memory goes out the window if I drink. So, not doing that. But anyway, hey guys, how are we all? Decent amount of news. Actually, I'd say no, okay. Looks like a lot on the screen. Decent amount of news. Interesting news today, I'd say. A lot of sort of thinky news or whatever you want to call it. Thank you. Hey, Martin, how are you? In London? Meaning a lot of news that sort of makes you sit and go, oh, this is interesting. Thank you, John, for the heart there. Ooh, boy. Anyway, what else is going on? I don't want to start telling you the news because, of course, that's going to start in a minute or two when we start the news. But don't know what else. Very hot weather here. It was 90s, or it is 90 right now, actually. So not very good dog walking weather, sadly. But at least I was able to get a number of, actually, all the auction items mailed out today. So that was nice. Folks will get them on Monday. It's a lot of fun stuff. Hey, Anna on TikTok. How are you? Anyway. Like I said, let's wait another couple minutes. TikTok's going slow today. TikTok, I knew this. Something's wrong with TikTok today. Let's see, but I can tell already. It's like it's slow with the number of people too that are coming in. Very strange. Thank you for the heart there, B. Smith. TikTok's having like a meltdown today where you post videos and nobody sees, like literally one or two people see your videos, which is like impossible on TikTok. I mean, a bad video on TikTok, well, for my account, a bad video gets 1,000 views. A bad video doesn't get one view. So something weird is going on. Very weird. Very weird. I don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, what do you do? What do you do? Anyway, yeah, like I said, TikTok's it's something just totally messed up today. Okay, it tricked me into posting that, and now I'm gonna kill TikTok for doing that. TikTok. They tricked me into posting this little thing on the screen, like our goal. The problem is when I put the goal, I can see even fewer of your comments. Oh, I need to make $1 million helping companies with user interface. I'd make so much. I mean, I would make $1 million. I mean, drives me crazy the way I did it, but it's gone anyway. So whatever. Yeah. TikTok gave me the offer to put it up. I was like, okay, why not? But anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to start anyway, even though TikTok is going to be absolutely pathetic today. Oh, well, thank you, Camp, for the hearts. Maybe this means the moderators won't have to worry about all the crazy people today on TikTok. Anyway, thank you, Stephen, for the heart there. So welcome, guys. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report, my nightly show I do. Cheryl, thank you for the happy Friday. My nightly show I do Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, US. I'm going to adjust my lighting a little bit. There we go. As the sun comes and goes, it changes the lighting. It's very exciting. Birthday's on Sunday, B. Smith. Happy birthday. Thank you, Ellie, for the heart there. So the way the show works, if anybody's new, is I start with the news, and then the second half of the show, I take your guys' questions. Do allow questions during the show, but the way we do that is either you submit the questions normally, and at the end of the not the end, halfway through, I will start to go through everything. Oh, hey, Gothenburg. I visited Gothenburg during the elections in 2010, but I didn't get to see it too much because we were sort of doing politics, but with the Social Democrats, but it was very fun. I liked visiting. So I just had to say hi to somebody in Sweden, a town that I had visited a long time ago. Lovely country, a little expensive for the rest of us, but lovely country, great people. So anyway, so the way this works, you guys can submit questions on TikTok via actually the Q&A link that's in my profile on TikTok is the best way to submit questions. For you guys over there, obviously, on my laptop, it's the comment box at the bottom. Also, what I very much appreciate are the gifts you guys give because, and I always keep harping on this, but I have to, I do this full time. It's my full-time job. Thank you, Carol, for the heart there. And I mean, I don't make money anything else. I've decided to do this full time since the war broke out. Thank you, Stephen, for the crown. So your guys' gifts help me pay the bills. Actually, your guys' gifts pay the bills. You don't just help me pay the bills. So please do keep them coming. They make a big difference on TikTok and YouTube. Actually, it does help the creator a lot when you guys give those gifts. So thank you for that. Thank you, Ellie, for that. Let me get rolling here. So today is day 463 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation. Thank you for the hat there, Tom Clark. This weekend, I'm going to have a special show, 2 special shows tomorrow. The first one will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Time U.S. tomorrow morning. That's New York City time, 11 a.m. And I will be having my Coffee Talk show, Coffee Talk, on TikTok for the paid TikTok subscribers and for the paid Discord subscribers over on Discord. On Discord, you'll find in the left-hand column, look for the $5 and up chat area in the left-hand column top. On TikTok, it will be right here, but it's only for the paid subscribers as a thank you to you guys. So 11 a.m. Eastern Time U.S. and then at 1 p.m. Eastern Time U.S., that's 1 p.m. New York City time, I will be going live and doing my weekend review only on Twitch. It'll be free, but you have to go to Twitch. And it's my Aravosis account at Twitch, not the account you guys are watching right now, the one that's just my last name, Aravosis. So go check it out. All right, guys, let's jump in. So Russia launched 15 cruise missiles and 21 Shahed kamikaze drones at Ukraine last night. Ukraine says they shot all of them down, which is great. There were a number of attacks by Ukrainians against the Russians yesterday, or in the last day, I should say. First, the port of Berdyansk was hit. Berdyansk is down here. It's this little dot right here. Keep in mind now, oops, sorry, real quick. Nick, I don't know if you had a question there. If you didn't and just meant to be nice, thank you. If you had a question, feel free to post a question, up to you. This is all the territory in Ukraine the Russians currently control, okay, this swath here. So Berdyansk is in the middle of it. Very important town, very important area. This is in Zaporizhia. This is the area we always talk about that could be key to Ukraine getting back its territory, because one of the thinking is by the military experts, oops, trying to move my chair slowly here. The thinking from the military experts is that Ukraine will want to basically cut the Russian occupation in half, okay? If Russia controls all of this by going boom right here, they've cut the upper part from the lower part. Well, boom right here is the province of Zaporizhia, includes the town of Berdyansk right here. So the Ukrainians attacked Berdyansk. It looks like they used drones. What is interesting is Berdyansk is also important because the Russians have been using it to export stolen Ukrainian grain. So interesting combination of reasons perhaps the Ukrainians went after it. Now, the cool unicorn horse. Woo, thank you on TikTok for that. Who was that? Steven. Thank you, Steven. Very nice. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. The Belgorod, another, thank you, Tom Clark, another area that got attacked again in the last day. Belgorod is up here. It's a province and a town. The town is around, the town's actually around here. It's not very far from the Ukrainian border, but the province of Belgorod is here. This is the province the Ukrainians have been attacking since the war started this area because it is important. It's important for Russian logistics, which means fuel, ammunition. Thank you, Stephen, for the little twirly guy. Fuel, ammunition that the Russians use to help their troops here in the east. Oh, hang on. Somebody gave a very nice gift there. Who was that? Oh, Didar. Thank you, Didar. That, I know that's a really nice one. Thank you for that. Belgorod attacked up here by the Ukrainians. There are reports that some of the attacks are happening still from these Russian, I don't know what we want to call them. I don't want to call them mercenaries, but these Russian fighters that are working with the Ukrainians and attacking Russia itself. More reports that these guys attacked again today. Interesting. Thank you, Magical, for the June gift. And there was an attack in Mikhailivka. The town of Mikhailivka. Thank you, Jay, for the seal. TikTokers are going crazy today. Thank you, guys. It's funny. Like I said, TikTok is screwing up today so that it's not going out to as many people. We've got far fewer people than normal, but you guys are actually giving more gifts than normal. So thank you. I appreciate it. We've got, in other words, we've got the good crowd. The good crowd showed up, even if it's not everybody. It probably also means the Russians aren't showing up nearly as much as normal. The other attack today, Mikhailivka, more or less, I'll point. Oh, hello. Thank you, Ron, for the fruit hat. I just saw that. Oh, wait, there was something else too. The hand went by. Nancy with the hand hearts. Thank you, guys. I was looking over here. I almost missed it. Mikhailivka, more or less over here. Okay, more or less. Again, occupied Zaporizhia province again. Remember, this is the province we think the Ukrainians are really going to go after in order to basically, sort of an initial push to get their land back. Thank you, Ray, for that, and Gen X for the butterfly. What is interesting is in Mikhailivka, thank you, TBI Chris, I'm sorry, and Gen X, you guys are going crazy today. Thank you. Thank you, Ray and Marcus. Okay. I still want the gifts, so don't worry. I'm still going to try to keep thanking you guys. Thank you, Jay, for the mariachi hat. The TikTokers are going absolutely crazy. I mean, it's wonderful, but they're going crazy with the gifts today. You guys are killing me. Thank you, Aileen, for the hearts. So I was saying Mikhailivka. What is interesting about Mikhailivka is, thank you, Ron, the Ukrainians blew up a car with 4 more collaborators in it. Now, collaborators are your own citizens that are turncoats that basically help the enemy. So a collaborator during World War II would have been, thank you, Stephen. Oh, that's a very nice one, Stephen. Thank you. A collaborator during World War II would have, and Didar, another very nice one. You guys are cracking me. I can't keep up with this. Kanowski, Ellen. Wait, what? Ellen with the rose, Kanowski with the guitar. You are cracking me up, you guys. Ron with the llama. Maybe I'm like ready to put the show on hold and just keep thanking you guys for gifts. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for that. You're being really sweet tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I was gonna say the trolls are missing. That's what people are noticing. We're getting all the good guys and no trolls. Wait, hey, Ron with the sail away. Oh my God, you guys are crazy. Aileen with the hearts. Oh my God. Dr. Candy with the hearts. Ron with the goggles. Okay, I'm probably missing some of these guys, so I apologize. I am going to miss some of these as I continue. So thank you. I really appreciate it, TikTokers. You're being very sweet. Thank you, Chad. You're being very nice as well. You were very nice anyway. All right. Thank you, Red and Steven. Oh my God. All right, guys. Collaborators. Thank you, Steven and Sydney. So the Ukrainians have been very good. Thank you, Kanowski, Nicholas. The Ukrainians have been very good at basically blowing up the Russians. Thank you, Teresa. At blowing up Russians who have turned against, Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have been blowing up Ukrainians that have turned against their own country. Thank you, Trace and Martin. You'd say collaborators in military terms. Thank you, Fanutis and Didar. Basically, they would be people, and Martin, they would be people during World War II, for example, French women who might fraternize with with Nazi soldiers, right? It's sort of collaborators, somebody who basically helps the enemy, right? Thank you, Heine and Ryan. So the idea is the Ukrainians have been blowing these people up. It's been wild. Thank you, LV. You guys are driving me crazy here. I mean, thank you. I don't want you to stop, but you're driving me insane. Oh my God. Martin and Fnutis. I know I'm forgetting. I know I'm not seeing some of you with the gifts on TikTok, so I apologize. I mean, I do see them go by, but it's like when I'm reading stuff, I'm not always getting all the names. So I apologize. Ellie and Heine. So the Ukrainians have basically, and Manda and Fanutis, the Ukrainians have been blowing up the collaborators. Stephen, Ryan, and they did it again, basically. I mean, there's not much more to say with that story, but what's interesting is just how much the Ukrainians have been able to infiltrate these occupied regions and constantly blow up other Ukrainians who have turned against their own country. And again, blowing up a car of 4 of them takes intelligence. It takes the know-how. It takes getting the bombs in there. Thank you, Ellie and Ryan. It takes having locals on the ground that are able to actually get the bombs implanted. I mean, it takes a lot of organizing, and the Ukrainians have just been so good about it. A little more here. Prigozhin. Okay, crazy Prigozhin. This has been hilarious. Prigozhin is freaking out again. So Prigozhin, you guys may remember, he is the Wagner Group guy, the Russian billionaire who runs the Wagner Group. Okay, the Wagner Group are the mercenaries. Thank you, Lynn, for those, or LVN, I should say. He runs the mercenary group, the soldiers for hire that have been fighting in Ukraine. They're Russians, but it's kind of a private army. But because it's Russia, nothing's totally private, right? Putin has his fingers in everything. And anyways, Prigozhin for the last several months has been going crazy, bitching about the Minister of Defense. He hates him. He wants him to resign. Prigozhin would like the war to be harsher. He thinks Putin isn't being strong enough. He had made some comments recently, adjusting my light as I talk to you guys. He'd made some comments recently that he thought the Russians should have used nuclear weapons early on. I mean, he's pissed because he thinks Putin isn't strong enough. He's not going after Ukraine hard enough. Okay. Well, the latest from Prigozhin. Now, listen to this. This is from Sky News. Wagner mercenary group founder Yevgeny Prigozhin accused representatives of the Russian Defense Ministry of placing mines along Wagner Group exit routes from Bakhmut. I'm going to read a little bit more in a second. Bakhmut, you will recall, is the Ukrainian town in the east, right over here, that the Russians have been trying. Thank you, Fanutis, for the origami. The Russians had been trying to get for about 11 months. They finally got it about 2 weeks ago. It's a town of maybe 60,000 people. Now it's a town of just a couple thousand people because they've utterly destroyed it. Strategically, the town doesn't matter. Ukrainians will tell you it does. Western defense folks will tend to disagree. So we don't think it matters. It was basically a trap, I would say. Thank you, Tom, for the cactus. It was a trap for the Russians, and they took it. The Ukrainians were happy to have Russia try to take the town, because what happened was the Russian troops just got killed and killed and killed and killed in this town. Horrific numbers. The numbers that came out the other day was one Western official estimated that the Russians lost, 60,000 casualties at a minimum, but casualties meaning dead and injured both, and 20,000 dead at least in this town. So very bad, obviously, for that. Well, what's going on now is they win the town like two weeks ago. Most of the guys fighting there. Oh, sorry. A very nice TikTok gift. Hang on. Who did that? Cameo? Was that you? It was Cameo Cami. That was very nice. Thank you for that. And very cool gift as well. The Wagner group had been the main group fighting there. They win finally. They get the town, more or less. I mean, there's still a little bit of the town the Ukrainians have, but more or less the Russians have it. The Wagner group is now pulling out. They're exhausted, which is another reason we think the Ukrainians were fighting them there, because basically they tuckered these guys out. They killed a lot of them. They injured a lot of them. They wasted their weapons, and they've fatigued the ones that are still can fight so that they can't fight. So they've got to take a few months off so that when the counteroffensive begins, these guys won't be able to fight. Thank you for the hat there, Martin. Well, Prigozhin's troops are leaving. He comes out today and says that he thinks, thank you, Kanausi, he thinks the Russian Ministry of Defense has been setting up a minefield behind his troops so that when his troops evacuate, they get blown up and killed. He's accusing the Russian government of trying to kill Russia's own troops. Let me read more of this. Representatives of the Russian Defense Ministry placing mines along their exit routes. Posting on Telegram today, the mercenary boss said his troops had found a dozen locations. Thank you, JR. A dozen locations where Defense Ministry officials had planted explosives, including anti-tank mines. The officials reportedly said orders to plant the devices came from their superiors. So, I mean, this stuff's great. Whether it's true or not, we don't care. What is important is Prigozhin is saying things publicly that are causing more fissures, more fractures, more trouble for the Ministry of Defense. Thank you, Marcy, for the pause. It is freaking out the Russian public because the Russian public hears this. He does it on Telegram, for example. Thank you, Ali. He does it on Telegram, which is a social media app, which means it's getting out to all the Russians anyway, right? I mean, Putin can't really censor that stuff. So all the Russian public is reading this and trying to figure out what's going on. They see Prigozhin, one commander, saying the other commanders are trying to kill his troops. They know all of them are Russian. Even if they're mercenaries, they're all Russians, right? You've got other Russian troops looking at this. I mean, think about this. The Wagner Group troops now think the regular Russian troops are trying to kill them. What does that do for them fighting together as the war goes on? If they think these other troops, in other words, the regular Russian military and the mercenaries, if they're fighting side by side, how do you fight side by side effectively with somebody who you think just laid down a bunch of landmines to kill you, right? It doesn't work. This stuff is golden. Now, again, Whether Putin has put him up to this, whether he's just jumped the shark and gone off the deep end and Putin's finally trying to get rid of him, either way, it's wonderful because they're attacking each other, and that just makes it harder for the Russians to have an effective military force. And again, it makes morale worse among Russian troops. It makes morale worse among Russian citizens, and it frankly makes the Ukrainians go, yes, which is good for Ukrainian morale. Kenneth in Norway had a question. Any news or views on Prigozhin may attempt a coup during the upcoming Ukrainian offensive? I did not hear that. What's interesting is, Russian Game of Thrones, very much so. I don't know. Trying to do a coup in Russia is very difficult, right? Putin's been there 20 years. He's paranoid. He's KGB, so he's a spy. Like, he doesn't know military stuff, but he does know spy stuff. A lot of the experts think it would be very difficult to pull one off. Okay. Oh, hey, Bill. Good to see you over on Facebook. But a lot of folks think it would be very difficult for Russians to pull off a coup. You'd have to get probably the top military guys on your side. You'd have to get the top intelligence guys on your side, your security services. Maybe. I mean, maybe. He's clearly up to something. Thank you, Sean, for those. He's clearly up to something. And what he's up to seems to be anti-Putin. And Putin seems to be letting him get away with it, which is really weird too. I will say this final point on this one. The thing is, though, like I said, he thinks that Putin should have used nukes against Ukraine. This is not somebody we want coming to power necessarily. It's nice to see the Russians fighting amongst themselves. That's helpful because it weakens Putin. And frankly, it makes Putin have to focus more on what's going on with his internal dynamics, right? Keeping his job than focusing on Ukraine. So that's very helpful. Thank you, Nico. But the idea of Prigozhin taking over could be really dangerous because Prigozhin probably is worse than Putin even as far as the kind of stuff he would do. So anyway, you get what I'm saying there. Let me see here. Oh, I'll do a quick pitch for my Ko-fi account. Quick sip of coffee as well. Oh, thank you, Andrea, for the trains. Very generous of you. In order to support my work, one of the things that I've got going, in addition to all the wonderful gifts on TikTok, thank you, Carol and Crazy American and Jetta Mom. You're all going nuts again. The mods must be putting you up to this. Thank you, user 6737. One of the ways to support my work, because I do this full time. I started doing it really when the war broke out, was doing it every day actually for several months, doing these broadcasts and doing videos throughout the day on TikTok and, then preparing for this several hours. And anyway, ended up doing finally Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then I do the weekend shows as well. Full-time means I'm not getting paid doing my other work. Normally I'd be doing consulting and other things, not doing that anymore, just doing this. So in order to pay my bills, it's been you guys, and you guys have been amazing. These gifts and the gifts make a difference, like the gifts on TikTok and the YouTube gifts. So thank you for that. They actually do put money in the pocket of the creators. So thank you. But that's why I keep harping on this. Another way you can help support my work, if you like my broadcasts and want to see them keep going, I mean, I'll keep doing them anyway. I shouldn't say that. I'll keep doing the broadcast. But if you like my work and want to make it easier for me to do it, we'll put it that way. I've got an account set up at Ko-fi.com. You guys have the link. You guys at the bottom of the screen, you guys over here can find it in my profile, the Linktree link. Click it. And the top thing that comes up is Ko-fi. It's ko-fi.com/Aravosis. And it's an account where basically you can give a one-time donation if you want, or you can give a monthly donation. You can just do that and we're done. If you want, that would be fabulous. I would love it. Even one donation is great. Thank you, Bradley. Monthly, even better. If you've been liking my stuff for several months and you've got the money, I'd appreciate a monthly donation just to help keep the money flowing would be nice. Another possibility is we do have a Discord community. I'll talk a little bit more about that later with the auctions, but we have a Discord community, which basically is, I can show you a quick picture of it. It's kind of hard to explain Discord without experiencing Discord, but basically it's a place where we can chat about a lot of different things. I mean, you can see here, Ukraine chat, memes, general debt ceiling, Trump, pets, sports, food. You guys can sort of see some of the topics here. It's a chat community basically. And one of the things we do there is we have auctions of really cool Ukrainian stuff, and 50% of I get stuff in Ukraine I buy. Some of it's donated from you guys, but most of it I've been buying, sell it to you guys, auction. And the profits, 50% goes to support my work because I don't get money from anywhere else other than you guys. And 50% goes to Ukraine, to the military, to humanitarian, etc. Thank you, Bonnie. I'll show you the auction stuff later. But the reason I bring this up is if you subscribe monthly on Ko-fi, that will make you eligible as a VIP member of the Discord, which means you can join our weekend private get-togethers like the one we're having tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, US. Thank you, Eugene and Crowded. You can also get access to our VIP auction and everything else. It's pretty easy to do. Go to ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Aravosis. Link in my profile. Link for you guys at the bottom of the screen. Actually, I'll take this off for a second and then come back to it. Oops, where is this? Hang on. Oops, 1 second here. I'll take this off and put it right back. Go there and just follow the instructions and it'll work. Okay. I am Dirt. 50% of the auction profits I have been sending to Ukraine. I have also been sending 50% of the profits from the t-shirt sales we do at store.aravosis.com. And we've been doing a lot of straight up auctions, actually, not auctions, a lot of straight up fundraisers. Since the war started, I will also do fundraisers occasionally where we've, the most recent one we did was raising money for a hospice that helps terminally ill children in Kharkiv, Ukraine, that are from the recently occupied territories, the territories that Russia was occupying. And they needed toys for the kids, but also paper and pencil and pens and things like that. So we raised about $1,700 from you guys to buy like 243 kits we put together for the kids. We've, at this point, have raised almost 100. I mean, I've got the details, but almost $100,000 since the war started of money from you all you guys, social media guys, that's gone directly to Ukraine, 100%. That money, I don't take a dime of. I've been trying to make my money in terms of being able to pay the bills off of you guys doing gifts here, the auctions I do on my Discord, the t-shirts I sell on my store, but the actual donations when we do a fundraiser for a specific thing, 100% of that goes to Ukraine. Yeah, so we've been doing, somebody had asked on TikTok, that's what I thought I would answer. Yep. All right, so let me keep going. Anyway, it's ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Aravosis. Check it out. Linktree in my TikTok. Thank you, Magical. Go to my TikTok, click the main link, you'll pull it up, and you guys, bottom of the screen. All right. There was a quick enjoy every minute. Russia is storing weapons, etc., in the salt mines in Bakhmut. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm still not sure what it gets them. I mean, here's the thing. So Bakhmut, town in the east, I was telling you about, that the Russians are right here. The Russians have been fighting for about 11 months, and it's not entirely clear why, because most folks in the West don't think Bakhmut really matters strategically. They do have salt mines. They also have, I think, gypsum mines, I believe, are the other mines they have there. It's just still not clear, though, that that's strategic enough to make a difference. Now, it is entirely possible the Russians are hiding weapons in the mines, but a part of me sort of says, so what? Like, what does that get them? I mean, if the Ukrainians take it back, then they get all the Russian weapons. You know what I mean? Like, it's possible, but I'm still not sure strategically what kind of a difference that makes. Maybe it does. I don't know. Let me go and just pull up a few more questions that popped up. Aqualimus is asking, do I know the Muffin Man? I know the song. Do you know the Muffin Man? See, I'm old enough to know the song. And Will Klaus is asking or saying, imagine you're Putin and you've decided to negotiate in good faith to end the war. I know, dare to dream. As things stand today, what's the most pro-Ukraine deal you'd be willing to agree to? I mean, the problem is with your assumption. What I mean by that is you're saying, imagine Putin's willing to negotiate, but give me a realistic version of what Putin would be willing to accept. And if it's a realistic version, realistically, Putin isn't willing to negotiate right now. Unless, okay, let me put it this way. He might be willing to negotiate. Ukrainians are saying we're not giving up any land. In the end, here's the problem. I was going to say, in the end, would Putin take Crimea and have that be enough? I don't think so, because he already had Crimea, right? Going into the war, back in 2014, Putin invades. He steals Crimea and starts to grab chunks of the stuff of out here. This time, a year ago, he invades and takes all the rest of this, right? He also gets a lot of this stuff that he gets kicked out of by the Ukrainians. Now he's still got this stuff. Even if he gave all of this back and said, I permanently get this, he already claims he's got this, right? So why would he give everything back for this? I mean, I could see Putin. I feel like Putin would have to at least take Crimea, and he would at least have to take what they call Donbass, which are the two provinces in the east, right? Luhansk and Donetsk. Like if he took all of these, he would be able to claim, I got more, right? When I came in, we only controlled this. And the Ukrainians contested it and said it was still theirs and threatened us with war every day. Now the Ukrainians in the peace deal admit this is ours, right? No more war. Okay, that's a concession. 2, and I got this land, which we only had a little bit. Now we've got it. So this is what we wanted too. Maybe these two. The thing is, Putin, everybody thinks Putin really wanted the land connection to Crimea. So he doesn't just want this and this. He wants this in between as well. But whatever it is, I think he's got to get more than he's got and than he had coming in. Otherwise, what was the point? Why come in and lose all these men fighting this war for the last year and a half, right? 200,000 casualties, maybe 60, 80,000 dead. Why do that if you're not getting anything more? So the other stuff being thrown in there, I don't see Ukraine. I don't see Ukraine now forswearing joining NATO. I think there was a chance at one point. Now I don't see it. I think Ukraine will join NATO someday, and Ukraine's going to say there's no way we're not going to join NATO, because in the end, unless Ukraine joins NATO, I think they're going to get attacked again. Whether it's 5 years or 10 years from now, Russia's going to attack again. So, I mean, I don't know how Russia. I don't think Russia wants to ever give up Crimea, and I don't think they want to give up the East either. But I mean, if Ukraine totally kicks their ass and starts getting all the territory, the other possibility is Ukraine kicks their ass, gets all the territories back except Crimea, and they're on the border of Crimea, ready to take it over, and the Russians say, okay, let's cut a deal. The question then becomes, why would Ukraine cut a deal if it thinks it can get Crimea, right? Anyway, there you go. Thank you for that. Yep. Let me go back here. All right. What else did I have for impact of drone strikes? So the Russian Black Sea port of Taman, this is funny, is poised to suspend exports of highly explosive liquid petroleum gas. I think this came from Sky News, because of concerns linked to drone attack. Oh no, this was Sky News citing Reuters. So Taman is a Russian town. I mean, literally like right here where my pen is. You can't see it, but this is Russia. So this is all Russia. This is Russia over here too. Okay. So you cross some water, maybe 12 miles, and then you've got Russia. The Kerch Bridge is here. That's the bridge we think the Ukrainians blew up last fall. The Russians fixed it, but now it looks like it's falling apart again, which is very funny. Taman is this Russian town right here. They were doing exports of liquid petroleum gas, which I guess is stuff like propane and butane, we would call it here in English. They're no longer going to ship them from this port because they're afraid the Ukrainians are going to blow them up, because what a great target than a boat full of propane or butane. Literally, it's like your lighter you use for cigarettes. Wouldn't that be a great target to blow up, right? So they're not going to be exporting anymore from there, which is good. I mean, it starts to impact Russia's exports. It also shows you, thank you, Wayne, for the heart. It also shows you why these drone strikes and everything matter, because they're already freaking Russia out a little bit in terms of Russia having to cut back, which is good. I mean, on some of its other economic exports. Around 200 Ukrainian soldiers began a 12-week training course on the American Abrams tank last weekend in Germany. Another 200 soldiers, thank you, Wayne, and who is Kanowski as well for the gifts there. Another 200 Ukrainian soldiers also started training on maintaining those tanks, fueling them, keeping them up to date, repairing them, etc. The training is expected to go 12 weeks. Washington Post says that British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said today that there is a real possibility that Ukraine could retake Crimea from Russia this year. Interesting. That's I say interesting. I don't want to be flippant about it. I'm intrigued that he's being that positive about it. I mean, that's good. The previous concern was that Ukraine could get Crimea, but might it take a few years? Or like, how long would it take? Him saying that is a nice boost of confidence, a nice vote of confidence for the Ukrainians. And again, it makes the Russians a little more worried. Anyway, it's good. Hopefully it's true. Um, Putin attacking Kyiv. I wanted to talk about this a little bit too. Sky News brought this up, which I thought was interesting, but it's something we've talked about. Why is Putin, if the sound is screwed up too, by the way, on TikTok, you could always go out and come back in, and I'll bet you it'll fix the sound delay problem, probably. But Putin has been attacking Kyiv, and it doesn't quite make sense why. He's been using a lot of missiles, cruise missiles, other missiles. Thank you, Lori, for the flowers. Those Shahed drones, the kamikaze drones from the Iranians, and they're going after civilians. Thank you, Bonnie. They're going after civilians, and it's not really clear why. For two reasons. One, we've talked about this before. Strikes against civilians don't tend to accomplish much, other than convincing the population that you're an ass, and they dig in. Historically, there's I don't even know if it's controversial in military circles. I think a lot of military folks think going after civilians doesn't really get you anything. Like, you think it's going to break the will of the people. It really doesn't. I mean, the US had to drop an atom bomb, or two of them, on Japan to break the will. And even then, I was reading a couple months ago, there's a school of thought that says it wasn't the atom bomb killing people that broke the will. It was the atom bomb destroying workers and destroying factories that broke the will of the Japanese. In other words, that the Japanese realized they couldn't fight anymore. It's not they didn't want to fight anymore because they lost a bunch of civilians. So not clear that that Putin's going to get any benefit from killing civilians in terms of breaking the Ukrainians' will. The other issue is he's wasting weapons. You've got a big Ukrainian counteroffensive coming up. Why are you not using, adjust my light here. Why are you not using every weapon you've got to go after Ukrainian weapons depots, to go after fuel storage, to go after the soldiers, right? If you can find their barracks, you should be, if you're Russia, within a matter of days, potentially, Ukraine could start the counteroffensive, which is their big pushback where they start to use the new NATO weapons and everything else. You should be, the only targets you should be hitting are targets that make it harder for Ukraine to do the counteroffensive. Bombing civilians in Kyiv will make no difference for the troops in the field doing the counteroffensive. Bombing their weapons will, right? Bombing their fuel will. Bombing their airway, their runways will. Really stupid. Well, Sky News got into this today a little bit with Sean Bell, one of their military analysts, and he was saying that basically the Ukraine, I mean, the expression, the older American expression, maybe the Brits say it too, is that the Ukrainians got Putin's goat. They pissed him off. And they pissed him off to a degree that he's like hopping mad and wants to get revenge on them, so that he, whether it's Zelensky, whether it's things Zelensky said, whether it's just the chutzpah, the hubris of the Ukrainians to think that they could defeat Mother Russia, this kind of crap, right? And he's so pissed off that that's why he's attacking Kyiv, is what they were saying on Sky News, that he's doing it out of vengeance. But because Putin is running the war, but he's running the war not in the way that Biden would run the war. He's running the war in the sense that he's doing like day-to-day military decisions that he shouldn't be doing. Those should be up to the generals. He's the one doing it. B, Putin is not a military guy. He's a KGB guy. So he's a spy, but he's not a military expert. So you've got a guy who doesn't really know military strategy deciding every little aspect of the war when he's not a military guy. And he's so pissed off at the Ukrainians that he's making those military decisions based on his anger and his vengeance, and not on military decisions. So bottom line is, they were saying they think, and it kind of makes sense, that Putin is basically wasting a lot of weapons and a lot of opportunity cost here, you would say, in economics or whatever, that basically he could be going after Ukrainian weapons when he should be, and he's going after civilians because he's pissed off. So again, good news for Ukraine, bad news for Putin. Real quick on nukes, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said today that the U.S. is not planning on building new nuclear weapons to sort of beat the Russians and the Chinese. There's been a lot of discussion about the Russian nuclear arsenal, which is bigger than Americans, but not by that much. The Chinese, which is small but getting bigger. And how the combined nuclear arsenals of Russia and China are clearly more than America's. I mean, the Russians already are more. But what Jake Sullivan said today, and I think he's probably right, is it doesn't really matter in the sense that you don't need to have. He didn't go into detail, but the basic idea here is for nuclear strategy. I'm America, you're Russia, and maybe you're Russia and China. I don't need more weapons. I don't need more nukes than you. I need enough nukes so that if you attack me, if you, Russia and China, get together and you surprise me and you nuke the hell out of my country, that I've got enough nukes left that I can nuke the hell out of both of your countries and it's the end of life on the planet. That's all that I need. I don't need more nukes than you. I need enough nukes that will survive you attacking me that I can kill you both and basically destroy 90% of your population. Thank you, AB69, for those. That's all you need. So it doesn't necessarily mean that America has to have more, because now the reason here is Russia and China could have more nuclear weapons, but not destroy all of our nukes, because it's not. Let's forget about hardened nuclear weapons. It's not always easy to get the nuclear weapons that are in the ground. It is forget about the air. Let's stick with the sea. We've got a lot of nuclear weapons on submarines. So do the French and the Brits. It is almost impossible to track a submarine. Very difficult. There is no way the Russians and the Chinese would be able to, maybe they'd get lucky at destroying one or two of our subs, maybe even if they hit 3. I think we've got like 12 or 14 nuclear subs. The Brits and the French each, I think, have 4 or 5-ish, maybe even 6. I forget the number exactly, but it's a decent number. Each of those carries a lot of nuclear weapons. All you need is for these subs to survive, and we would be able to destroy China and Russia. Now, no one wants that to happen because it's the end of the world and everybody dies. But the point is, in order to stop Russia and China from having some kind of a sneak attack on us, we just need enough weapons to be able to respond and blow them up, and our submarines let us do that. Yeah, but number of submarines in operation. We don't have 56 in operation. No way. The U.S. has got like 12 or 14, I believe, in operation from what I'd read a couple months ago. Thank you, Courtney, for the heart there. Thank you, Kanausi. So anyway, that was the issue with the nukes. Let me, what am I looking at here? As always, we're going to go a little late tonight. I've got a Blinken speech. I'm going to end with a speech that was given today by U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. But first, Syndicate, you wild man. That's kind of cool. The Kofi bot. You'll have to tell me about that one. Thank you, Bonnie, for the musical notes. One of the other cool things I was mentioning earlier that we have on our Discord community, discord.com/ it's what is it? Aravosis? I'm already forgetting. Discord.aravosis.com. I was forgetting what it was. Is we've got a lot of interesting. All right, Twitch, need you to block somebody. We got a crazy man. We've got a Russian lover over on Twitch. If somebody wants to go over there and get rid of him, please. The Clark guy's an idiot. Just block him, please, if you would. The good thing is Clark doesn't realize that nobody else can see his comments. So, but please go block him, please. Thank you. Who is that? Hector? Oh, Big Gator Girl and Courtney. Thank you, guys. So the other thing is our Discord community, we've got auctions. Thank you, Amanda. We've got auctions, and the auctions are really cool because as I said, half of the proceeds, thank you, Hector, half of the proceeds from the auctions go back to Ukraine, half of it go to support my work. I want to show you a couple of the auction items. We've got a whole new, I basically put them all up at once now, or 6 or 7, and have the auctions end every Wednesday. That makes it so that people are able to bid a little more easily because next Wednesday is the end of the auction. Different times throughout the day. Thank you for the meteor shower, Nancy. That was very cool. But let me show you a few of the things. We've got used Russian military hat from Ukraine. It's actually one of their summer hats. I think it's kind of cool because I like the Russian patch there, but also, and I don't know if you can see it well enough, the buttons are those Russian two birds or whatever it is, the two-headed eagle or two-headed bird with the wings. You can probably like barely see there, but they're very cool. No holes in the Russian hat. No. Very cool Ukrainian folk art going after Putin, calling him a war criminal, wanted Russian criminal, bloody Vladimir. I like this one because it's got a very subtle little thing under where it says Russian criminal, where it's got a X through the hammer and sickle and an X through the Z, which is sort of a subtle or not so subtle. Well, it's subtle because it's small on the top, but it's a little swipe at the Soviets. Basically, we didn't like you when you were Soviets, because mind you, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. They hated the Russians. We didn't like you when you were Soviets, and we don't like you when you're Z, basically. But that one's very cool. A neat coffee, a Russian warship go F yourself coffee mug. These are very cool. This is the Moskva, the ship that the Ukrainians sank. That first day of the war went to Snake Island and told the Ukrainian troops to surrender. And they said, Russian warship, go F yourself. That's very cool. So the Ukrainians did a stamp. Oh, thank you. Oh, there was a Dudike. Thank you, Dudike. The Ukrainians made a stamp of a Ukrainian soldier flipping his finger at the Russian ship, and they made a stamp about it, which I think is the coolest thing. So that's what he's doing there. He's flipping off the ship, which I think is totally cool. Couple more things. One of my this one's very popular. My friend Vlad in Ukraine, who's been coordinating all of our auctions for us, he made these sweatshirts for the volunteers of a Ukrainian charity called Harkovu Mir, that is a Meals on Wheels charity. Basically, they started off by providing meals to shut-ins, people who couldn't get to the store during the war, people who were stuck in fallout shelters, in metro stations, where they would go underground to hide from the bombs. They would make food and bring them food. They've been doing a lot of other stuff now too. Vlad made sweatshirts for them, and very cool, like the Ukrainian colors, the name Harkovu Mir in Russian and Ukrainian. Some of the shirts have Ukraine on back. They're super soft, 100% cotton. I mean, they're super soft sweatshirts. We're auctioning these guys off. And then finally, there's more than this, but I want to show you. Finally, and this one cracks me up. It's a hoodie. This one cracks me up. I love this. The final thing we're auctioning off is a real Ukrainian camouflage military net. These are these nets that we have been, remember I've been telling you about the auctions? Well, what the auctions have been going for lately has been helping the Ukrainians make these camouflage nets so they can defend themselves. The Ukrainian military, we've got a bunch of people with the charity we're working with around Ukraine that are making these nets, and we have been providing the money to buy the actual material, because I was surprised, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. You need specific material to make these nets, because the military needs a certain color. It needs to be able to withstand the elements, the weather. And anyway, the auction revenues have been buying a lot of these nets, and we asked them and they said, sure. So they made us a few nets that we could auction off to you guys. The nets, I wanted small nets. That net is 9 feet by 2 feet, which is like 3 meters by 2/3 of a meter. Rather large, although you can see they're really light. They're really light, and they compress because there's not much to it, even though it's huge. I think it's a very unique memento from Ukraine, a Ukrainian military camouflage net. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go back and tell you the Blinken speech. So do go check that out. The final, as I said, the final thing with our Discord, discord.aravosis.com. Go check it out. Mods, obviously get rid of that Robert crazy person. Oh, I mute him. Obviously you're going to block. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Ash. I was going to say block him too. All right. Final thing is Secretary Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, goes and does a speech today in Helsinki. And very interesting. Speech about Ukraine. Thanks, Ash. Speech about Ukraine. He, at one point in the speech, makes a joke about Russia that isn't quite a joke. I'm going to play you the audio, and then I want to talk about it because I think it's fascinating. Keep in mind, this is Secretary Blinken, our Secretary of State. Serious guy. This is the Biden administration, very serious. They don't make jokes. They don't make personal attacks. He's talking about Putin's military in Ukraine. Okay. The whole speech is about it. And by the way, it was like a 35-minute speech, which is very interesting. That's interesting. Otan Batsaruk says camouflage nets are often designed to minimize infrared light reflection also. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was surprised because also the material is very expensive, because I'm thinking it's cheap material, but of course it makes sense it wouldn't be for the camouflage nets. So anyway, like I said, I think the camouflage net's totally cool. All right, listen to this. Our U.S. Secretary of State today talking about Russia. Oops, hang on.
President Putin spent 2 decades trying to build Russia's military into a modern force with cutting-edge weaponry, streamlined command, and well-trained, well-equipped soldiers. The Kremlin often claimed it had the second strongest military in the world, and many believed it. Today, many see Russia's military as the second strongest in Ukraine. Its equipment, technology, leadership, troops, strategy, tactics, and morale, a case study in failure.
That is an old joke. It's been going around for a while. The whole, Russia said they were the second strongest military in the world. They're actually the second strongest military in Ukraine. And now the most recent joke was Russia has the second strongest military in Russia because of these Russian troops that are now invading, right? Invading Russia itself. What was interesting to me about that is he doesn't make jokes like that. First of all, the only word I can find is bitchy. That was a bitchy joke. That was a nasty joke. That was a zinger. It was a gotcha, right? And it was a nasty trying to piss off Putin, trying to embarrass Putin, making fun of the Russians. Ronald Reagan would do those jokes. I mean, remember, I've actually been saying I wish we could hear more of those jokes, right? Ronald Reagan would make those comments about Russia, about the Soviet Union. Joe Biden doesn't. His team doesn't. That Blinken decided to do that was very interesting to me. And I'm not sure. Now, exactly, Metallium is saying over on Twitch, as long as they don't backtrack the comments. Fair enough, right? Thank you, Kanowski, for the gift there. Exactly, because yes, I agree. But I'm still trying to quite figure out why he did this. He didn't do this by accident. It wasn't just a flippant joke thrown in there. They did it in order to piss off Putin, in order to make fun of Putin. They're trying to belittle him. They're trying to make him less powerful. I'm fascinated by this. I don't like genocide, George. You shouldn't either. Yeah, sorry. We've got somebody who's about to become a troll on TikTok. But there's something going on with why the US did that. And like I said, I'm trying to figure it out, but it's clearly it's psychological warfare. It's a psyop, to quote Elon Musk, but it's a psychological operation against Putin, I think. And I'm not sure what's going on, but it was on purpose. I like to see it though, because it also means that our side is getting a little more in your face about this stuff, which is good. Maybe that's part of it. Honestly, maybe part of this is also publicly telling Putin and the Russians, we're not afraid of you anymore. You know what? We started the war. We were being nice, right? We were being nice. We were trying to, we didn't want to escalate. Remember escalation? So we held back a lot of the weapons. We only gave Ukraine the HIMARS really slowly. We didn't give them tanks. We still haven't given them tanks, but we didn't even agree to give them tanks. The US until January of this year. Patriot missiles, we only gave them recently, right? Like the whole step of the way, we were afraid, we were being careful, we didn't want to anger you. Now, Russia, we're happy to anger you because we realize now your threats don't matter. Your red lines are false and there's nothing you can do about it. I wonder if that's not part of the message that's coming here, is basically telling the Russians, just, we're not afraid of you anymore. To the degree we might have been worried about you, we're not anymore, and you need to know that. Like I said, I'm going to be thinking about this in the next few days. Something's going on with this. It was very, very strange in a good way, but very strange that they did that. Anyway, the other thing he said was on a ceasefire. This was interesting. Oh, thank you, Joe. Joe just joined as a subscriber over on Ko-fi. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Blinken on a ceasefire. A ceasefire that simply freezes current lines in place and enables Putin to consolidate control over the territory he seized and then rest, rearm, and reattack. That is not a just and lasting peace. It's a Potemkin peace. It would legitimize Russia's land grab. It would reward the aggressor and punish the victim. What is interesting about that, Edsel was saying this, Marine Death was saying this over on Discord, that kind of buried within that comment is, yeah, Dave, relax. Relax. Um, it's fine to tell jokes at this point. These guys are committing genocide. It's fine to joke about them as part of the psychological strategy to beat them. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely acceptable, especially when they're the ones committing genocide. You don't get mad about our side mocking them to belittle them as part of a psychological operation when they're the ones committing genocide. I mean, stop. Just stop. So anyway, sorry, somebody's being kind of silly on TikTok. Um, what's interesting about that is he's also saying that by saying we shouldn't have a ceasefire that locks in the territorial gains that Russia has had, because it means there won't be a lasting peace, and it legitimizes what Russia did. It rewards the aggressor. He's also kind of saying that we can't accept that in a peace deal either. Because what's the difference? If a ceasefire that lets Russia hold on to the land it grabbed, that he said that would send the message to the world that these kind of attacks are to be rewarded, right? You can't do that. Well, then wouldn't a peace treaty that gives Russia land do the same thing? It would send the message to the world that these kind of attacks are rewarded, right? So interesting observation there about whether this is also basically you are seeing you I think we may be seeing Blinken ascendant. Thank you for the gift there, Ernie. We might be seeing Blinken kind of his star is rising in the administration. We do know that a lot of folks have said that they think Jake Sullivan and General Milley were the two people who were really causing problems as far as stopping Biden or convincing Biden not to give Ukraine better and better weapons, and that now you've got, for whatever reason, Secretary Blinken, our Secretary of State, is on the rise in terms of he's now gaining power as far as being the. Sorry, I'm turning my phone on to turn my fan on here. Thank you, Hickey. I think this is part. Thank you, pediatric nurse. I think this is part of it. As far as showing that Blinken's kind of stature is rising in terms of, and good, because he seems to be not more of a hawk, but he's more of a hawk in terms of taking on Putin, which is interesting because typically the State Department, that's not the State Department. State Department is typically the one who says, oh, let's step back. And in this case, Blinken's going, let's take it to him. Very interesting. Bash Brannigan asks the super chat question. We'll jump into the questions here now. How would a serious leak at the Russian-held Ukraine nuclear power plant affect the war? What the Russians are hoping, the Ukrainians have accused the Russians of planning a fake leak at the nuclear plant in Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia is here, top of this little area here, jutting, so south of the river, but on the northernmost point south of the river, right here. And Russians control it. Huge nuclear plant, largest in Europe, provides like 20 or 30% of Ukraine's energy. It's a lot. Thank you, Benji. And the concern is that Russia is going to pretend that, oh, there's been an attack or the Ukrainians blew it up and now there's radiation. And maybe the Russians will even release a little radiation just to kind of, cause a stink. And the thought was the Russians might do this in order to try to force a ceasefire. Thank you, by my rules. Remember what I was telling you at the beginning of the show, and I've told you in other shows. Russia controls all of this, okay? Ukraine, the thinking is, really needs to come here and cut the Russian territory in half. So Russia controls this and this. If Ukraine can come down here, they can cut this in half, and they've now cut this off from this, which causes real problems for Russia and sets Ukraine up very nicely for being able to then take this and take this. Well, what do you think's in the middle of this? The Zaporizhia nuclear plant. So the thinking is the Russians are going to try to claim it's a disaster. Look, first of all, there may be no accident at all. But say, oh, there's a huge accident. The Ukrainians did it, and release some radiation just so the sensors pick it up and say, oh boy, we need to cut all of this area off. No one can enter this, or even better, this area, no one can enter it. And oh my gosh, that means that the area that also includes the area Ukraine needs to take in the counteroffensive has to be, a ceasefire. That we need the international inspectors, nobody can, so that they might do it to actually stop the Ukrainians from doing their counteroffensive in the area. So that, I think, is the biggest possibility. Now, if there's a really huge leak, who knows? I mean, right? If there's a huge leak and the Russians caused it and it goes into NATO territory, NATO could see it as an act of war. I mean, that's a possibility. Thank you for that. Paul Gray, thank you as well. Do you think anything will eventuate with Moldova and Ukraine to solve the Transnistria problem? Oh my God. Who knows? I don't think so. Not right now. I will say, I'm not the expert on Transnistria, but you've got Ukraine here. I'm going to have to tighten up my map. It's getting a little loose here. Sorry, guys. You've got Ukraine here. You've got Moldova, more or less. I'm probably missing some of Moldova, excuse me. But former Soviet, remember Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, Belarus was, Moldova was here. And the Russians caused all sorts of trouble and basically carved out a little fake country called Transnistria here out of Moldova. And there's still a couple thousand Russian troops there sort of, protecting them, stopping them from the Moldovans from getting it back. You've got Russian troops there. So you would, if you attack, you're dealing with Russia. Moldova doesn't want to have, the Russian army take it over. Having said that, Ukraine's already at war with Russia. If Ukraine were to go to Transnistria, right, it's not like, oh, the Russians will declare war on Ukraine because they invaded Transnistria. Ukraine would have to do it at the end of the war. Now, again, will they? Ukraine is not going to get Transnistria from Moldova as a favor before they get all of Ukraine back. Second problem, even if Ukraine gets all of its territory back, the Moldova thing would be beneficial to Ukraine in the sense that you've got a couple thousand Russian troops there, which is problematic. But Ukraine also might think, you know what, we need to keep our troops on the ready for the Russians pushing back. Thank you, Cheryl. Maybe we don't need to go into Moldova and start another battle there because our troops, we need to keep them for Ukraine. So, but the only possibility I could see is after Ukraine gets everything else, does it help Moldova kick these guys out? Maybe. I'm not convinced they'll do it, but I kind of feel like that may be the only way that it happens, Oops, sorry. Close that. Thank you for that. Oops. Sorry, Paul. There we go. Let me pull up some TikTok questions. You guys remember on TikTok how these work. You submit the question via the Q&A in my profile. Yep. Daniel has a nice comment on TikTok talking about this. Russia's currently launching a hybrid war in Moldova where they use their infiltration of the political establishment to make it turn like Crimea in 2014. Yes. The Russians have been basically paying off political groups trying to, create a fake revolution. So Russia comes in, it's a mess. Do you think Ukraine can win the war? Yeah. No, you can look from the beginning. Had Ukraine been given all the weapons it needed that we should have given them, so I'm not talking nuclear weapons, I'm not talking crazy stuff, but the weapons we should have given them early on, and that includes the tanks, it includes the F-16s, but it includes ATACMS, which are these rockets they want for their for the HIMARS. Had we given Ukraine everything it needed at the beginning, Ukraine possibly could have won the war by now. I mean, they would have been in a much better situation by now. Ukraine potentially could still kick Russia out entirely, again, if they get all the weapons they need. So, yeah, I mean, the problem sort of becomes, how do you define win? That's sort of the problem. Because is Russia going to stop, right? If Ukraine's able to get all that territory back that Russia invaded and took, is Russia going to then stop and not fight back anymore? I don't know. Thank you, Suzanne, for the origami. But I think if I were Ukrainian, I think winning means getting all of its territory back from Russia, including Crimea. And then if Russia continues the war, we just keep defending Ukraine and they keep defending themselves. But that's kind of what that's what I would call winning. And they can. Yeah. I told you that the general, the British Secretary of Defense said he thinks they can get Crimea back this year. Getting back Crimea would be insane. I mean, honestly, getting back Crimea would be more important than getting back Eastern Ukraine to a degree, even though they do want that. Oh, excuse me. Kelly is saying, sorry, real quick. Oh, was that in Hickey and Arthur Makers for the gifts there on TikTok. Kelly Fonts was saying a little bit more about Moldova. I think the question has to do with the fact that Moldova has given public permission for Ukraine to come into Moldova. And Zelensky said that if Russian Transnistria want to live, they should leave now. Oh, if Russians in Transnistria want to live, they should leave now. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, but again, I don't see Zelensky doing that now. You know what I mean? I mean, then again, actually, then again, knowing Zelensky, who the hell knows? I mean, the Ukrainians are so good at screwing with the Russians' head. Like, the Russians think they're going to go here and they go here, right? And they just mess with them. Maybe the Ukrainians would go after Transnistria just to freak the Russians out, right? And again, think about it. There's only a couple thousand troops in Transnistria, which means the Ukrainians would probably wipe them. Transnistria is over here. The Russians are expecting the big battle over here, and the Russians are trying to defend all of this. They don't want to have to, not only do they not want to have to put them, where are they going to get them from? The Russians don't, how are they going to get more troops even in here, right? This is all Ukrainian held territory here. The Russians can't even get troops in here. So who knows? Again, pie in the sky. Maybe the Ukrainians do go into Transnistria just to F with the Russians. Who knows? All right. More questions. Well, that's the question. I mean, Devin's saying half of Russia's troops are gone. How long can they go? Russia did get another 3,000. Crimea is in Russia. Crimea is in Russia according to Russia. But guess what else was in Russia and now isn't? All of this was in Russia. This is somebody on TikTok. And now isn't. The Ukrainians got it back. All of this was in Russia, and now it's not. It's now back in Ukraine. The counteroffensive, the Ukrainians are going to get lots of this back. Russia is a disaster. Its military is a disaster. Any of the trolls that are here right now, you guys ought to just leave if you can, because you can't leave. You live in a dictatorship. Too bad. You've lost this war, and coming here and telling people like us that, Ukraine can never win. You don't, you live in your own dictator bubble. Maybe that shit works in other countries like around the world that don't have they don't have freedom. But we all are able to get the news. We all know how badly things are going for you. We all know that 200,000 casualties you've had already. We already know that you've had probably at least 4 times the number of dead that you had in Afghanistan in 10 years. You've had 4 times as many dead in Ukraine in 1 year versus Afghanistan in 10 years. Okay. This war has been a disaster for you people, and we know it. And that's why I think we sort of laugh when you come here and you try to troll us, because it's just so stupid. You say stuff. And again, it's the thing I will point out though, and I do this a lot, is the fact that the Russian trolls are so dumb with the stuff they bring up. It's indicative of just how different Russia is, and also how kind of out of touch they are. They have no idea what's going on in the West, and they have no idea the way we think, that they actually think that kind of stuff's going to work. In any case, it's, I'm not saying Ukraine's going to win the war tomorrow, but Russia sure as hell isn't. Russia's in trouble. This was a 3-day war. We're in, what did I say? What day are we in? We're in day 463 of a 3-day war. You're not doing well, Russia. You're not doing well. Clearly. Anyway, blah, blah. All right. Oh, sorry. More questions. Sorry, more TikTok questions here. Deep, 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 deep. Oops, one moment here. Oh, I don't know. They need the help. Garrett is asking, how do you feel about the International Monetary Fund deals with Ukraine? There's always concern about Ukraine having, like any country, developing too much debt. And then all of a sudden, Ukraine has to deal with billions and tens of billions of dollars of debt after the war. That's a real concern, definitely. Ukraine has no choice right now. They need money. They need money to keep the economy going, right? Because you've got, think of, what was it? Is it 10%? No, 25%, I believe, almost. Ukraine's got like 43 million people. 10 million people, I think I read, are displaced. So they're no longer in their homes. A couple million of them have had to flee the country, but a couple million is 5%, right? At least 25% have left their homes. Well, if those 25% have left their homes, a lot of them aren't working probably. And local economy's gone to hell if you're not working. So you've got a lot of money problems in Ukraine. And by the way, then where's the money? Where's the government getting money to function? They're taxing people, but you're taxing people that are no longer working, have fled the country. Others have fled internally. So the government now has no money. The U.S. has been giving money for that. I think Europe has been as well to help the government keep afloat. And that's the kind of stuff that the IMF typically helps with. I mean, I don't know what the IMF is giving specifically. I know they reached a deal recently. But yes, you always want to worry in the end about how much debt you take, but you don't have any choice right now. Maybe they can get some of it written off. Who knows? But at this point, I'd say you got to keep Ukraine afloat and worry about the debt later. Daniel, thank you for that very generous gift from Daniel. YouTube question regarding Moldova. That was a lie from a Russian source yesterday. What? The story was that the Moldova prime minister invited Zelensky. Oh, the other story. The story was that the Moldova prime minister invited Zelensky to liberate Transnistria and its warehouses of Soviet-era weapons. Okay. I see what you mean. So you're saying she said, why don't you come liberate the weapons and you'll have more than enough weapons that you need or whatever. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And he's saying in the second part of it, and if Moldova gets dragged in, I wonder when Georgia will get dragged in. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks. A whack-a-mole emote. I'll have to look at that. Maybe if there is something, I can always see about getting that for you guys on TikTok. I try to I finally updated the emotes and I can tell they're more fun because I can see you guys using them. I don't know that there is a whack-a-mole emote. Like if there's anything that's obvious enough, I have to see. My day is going well. Thank you, Magic Dude. It's Friday. TBI Chris says the government gave Elon Musk a contract for Starlink so they stay in Ukraine. Yes, that is true. We don't know the details, but my guess is Elon got paid off pretty well, which, in the end, that's what you have to do with these guys. But that's good. If Ukrainian Michael S., if Ukrainian intelligence knows where the Wagner group is headed to take time off, remember the Wagner mercenary group is going to take about a month and a half or so to like rest and relaxation to get, to let the soldiers regroup. If Ukrainian intelligence knows where they're headed to take time off, your thoughts on Ukraine sending them some missiles? Of course. Yeah, I mean, of course. And they will. If the Ukrainians knew where the Wagner guys were, they'd destroy them. The question becomes, well, here's the one interesting question. And I don't know where, I probably do know where Ukraine is on this. Ukraine, it's easy for Ukraine to blow up Russian barracks full of troops or whatever in Ukraine, like Russian occupied territory in Ukraine. It's harder for them to do it in Russia itself. And we've seen Ukraine blow up fuel, weapons, things like that. Even using their drones to damage airplanes on military airplanes in Russia on the ground. But I don't know that we've seen the Ukrainians use it to, for example, blow up a Russian military barracks in Russia. Now, part of the problem becomes, how do you do it? I don't know that Ukraine's got missiles that can reach it that they're allowed to use. They've got the British cruise missiles, but I don't think, the Brits have been pretty good about this, but I'm still not convinced the Brits want to see Ukraine use a Storm Shadow cruise missile, the British missile, to attack a military barracks in Russia. Maybe, but anyway, that's yeah. In any case, so I guess my point is, it depends where the Wagner group guys are. If they've gone back to Russia, and I'm sorry, the other question becomes, do you care? Maybe it's better to use your weapons to go after the fuel and the ammunition and everything else. And if the Wagner guys are going on break, screw them. They can't fight for another 6 weeks anyway, easily, right? They're exhausted. Let them go. So you always want to juggle the opportunity cost, like what can give you the most bang for the buck, literally bang for the buck. Cliff Wolf, thank you, Cliff. Do you believe the cost to Ukraine will be in the quintillions of that 100 million? Well, they're saying, I'm trying to remember. What were they saying about the cost of the war to Ukraine already? It wasn't 200 billion. Was it that much? I don't remember now. Was it 200 billion? Was the latest cost they were saying about the cost of the war to Ukraine? It's clearly going to be, it's going to be a lot, and reconstruction is going to cost a lot. Again, what do you do? Ukraine has built up so much goodwill that I think the world is going to help them a lot after the war. I am confident of that, but don't know how much. It's a lot. It's clearly a lot. you know. Um, oops, beep, beep, beep. Let me look here. Okay, good. Got you guys. I can pull up another. Yep, so there's more questions here. That's an interesting question. Hang on. Oops. Got it. And now TikTok is being evil. Come on, TikTok. Oops. All right, I'm going to close my TikTok and open it again here. One sec. It wasn't opening up on me. Skip ad. Beep, 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 beep. Here we go. Q&A. All right. 1 second here. What's the end result from this war? Do you think it would be possible or beneficial if Russia were to join NATO or the EU? You know, that's the kind of stuff people were talking about when the Soviet Union fell, when the Soviet Union was dissolved in 1991. A lot of people were talking about Russia. If you were seeing Eastern European countries join NATO. Basically, Russia's hostages in Europe fled the murderous genocidal dictator, the Stalinist government, and said, "Oh my God, protect us, NATO." And NATO said, "Yes." That's why these Russian defenders who talk about NATO expanding. NATO didn't expand. The Eastern European hostages of the Soviets said, and the hostages were also hostages like the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. They said, "Oh my God, we're free of these lunatics. Protect." They ran to the cops for help. And the cops, which were NATO, said, "Okay, we'll help you." That's what happened. So NATO wouldn't have expanded if Russia didn't take half of Europe hostage for 50 years, practically 45 years after World War II, as part of a little secret deal they had with the Nazis, their friends, the Nazis, which they don't like to talk about, but it's true. So I'm already forgetting what I was saying. As far as, so yeah, a lot of us, when I remember we were, it was at least, whether it's pie in the sky or whatever, it was the kind of thing being thrown around in the 1990s was, wow, does this mean even Russia could join NATO? And again, I don't remember with the EU, but I'm going to suspect that it was at least a pie in the sky idea of Russia joining the EU. But then Russia decided to, Russia was a kleptocracy for most of the 90s, right? It was just a mafia run country. And then Putin comes over and turns it back into a dictatorship again, and basically turns it back into the evil empire again. So, after the war, the problem is you would need to overthrow Putin. You would need to overthrow Putinism. And this becomes a bigger problem, right? It's not like Russians are aghast that Russia invaded because, oh my God, Russia, right? We would never do anything like, look what we're doing in Ukraine. We don't do things like that. The Russians are fine with it. A lot of Russians are. The reason the Russians aren't happy is they're not winning. They're not too worried about the crimes against humanity and the war crimes. They think they're doing Ukraine a favor. So to have something good come out of this war in terms of Russia needs to have a revolution. And I don't know that that's going to happen. But I think they do. I think Russia has to hit rock bottom. Russia has to have a revolution. They need to not just overthrow their government. They need to overthrow their entire system and say, you know what? We're tired of the corruption. We're tired of the hundreds of years of autocracy, of basically czars or Soviets or this stuff with Putin, strong men running our country. We want to be a democracy. We don't want all the, and again, all of that, they kind of have to raise up and want it. By the way, we want to be part of Europe. We don't want to be this crazy thing that we are right now. We want to be part of the civilized world, but they've got to decide they want that. So sure, I could see someday, the Europeans would know better about the EU, but if Russia were to be a normal country and part of NATO, that would be amazing. Because then then China would really freak out. But then you'd have the interesting thing is then NATO starts becoming a larger and larger organization that becomes a peace organization, almost like what the UN we wish it were, with some teeth, peace with some teeth. Yeah. Anyway, let me look here. I don't know that it's true though. Metallium is asking on Twitch. Is how true is the rumor that Orban, who's the wannabe dictator in Hungary, is helping Putin because he wants part of Ukraine? There's like a Hungarian minority in Western Ukraine or whatever. I'm not like the total expert on this, but there's, it's just like a weird thing going on there. I mean, I I suspect it's Russian disinformation. It would be my suspicion that they're saying it just to, because, Hungary's still in NATO and they're trying to sort of make this suspicion between Ukraine and NATO. I just, yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Um, yeah. All right. I'm going to probably try to wrap up, guys. All right. You are very welcome, Alec. We are very happy to help you guys. Nice. Hang on. All right. Neighbor wants to go play with the dogs. So, and it's also 20 after anyway. I'm going to skip Discord tonight because I would, but I know we haven't done too many Discords this week, because tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I am doing the Coffee Talk Discord where I get together with you, the paid TikTok subscribers and the paid Discord subscribers. And we will be getting together on Discord and here and hanging out at 11 a.m. Eastern time US. That's 11 a.m. New York City time. Vlad always usually joins us. Hopefully Vlad will join us tomorrow, my friend Vlad in Ukraine. And at 1 o'clock tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time, US, 1 p.m. New York City time, I will be doing my weekend review, which is a recent show I started on Twitch. We'll see if I keep doing it, but maybe I will. On my Twitch account, my Aravosis account on Twitch. And I will be... oh, we got another crazy person. We got another crazy person on Twitch. Before we go, block this person, the mouthy. Russia's actually Hungary very much wants to help the neo-Nazis because they are helping the ones in Russia. But oh well. And himself, are you kidding? Or whatever. I shouldn't be arguing with trolls. I'm going to do the recap in a second. In any case, but at 1 o'clock tomorrow, Twitch Aravosis account. Thank you, Amanda. Twitch Aravosis account. I will be doing my weekend review, which is kind of a new show we've been doing. It's free. You guys can all go, but you got to go on Twitch. And it's my account is Aravosis. I've got 2 Twitch accounts. One is the daily account, Aravosis Report Daily. Aravosis is the weekly review. So show up there at 1 o'clock tomorrow. We usually get a good crowd, actually. It's been fun. All right. Quick review. Day 463 of Putin's 10-day special military operation. Russia launched 15 cruise missiles and 21 kamikaze drones at Ukraine last night. All of them were shot down. Ukrainians hit the town of Berdyansk along the port. Ukrainians hit the Belgorod Oblast region again in northeastern Ukraine. Ukrainians also hit in Zaporizhia region, blew up 4 collaborators of their own people that were working with the Russians. So lots of attacks still going on all over the place in preparation for the counteroffensive. Prigozhin, the Wagner Group mercenary leader, is now claiming that the Russian Ministry of Defense set up mines in order to blow up his own people retreating from Bakhmut. Oh, that's right. It's Sassy Unicorn's birthday. I believe yesterday was moderator Sassy Unicorn's birthday. So everybody give her a little happy birthday, if you would. The drone strikes Russia's Black Sea port of Taman, which is actually right by Kerch, the Kerch bridge that got blown up. They've stopped exporting liquid LPG, liquid petroleum gas, so butane, propane, stuff like that, out of fear of drone strikes. That's great. Around 200 Ukrainian soldiers began a 12-week training course on Abrams tanks in Germany last weekend. Also, another 200 soldiers are training on how to upkeep the American Abrams tanks. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said there's a real possibility Ukraine could retake Crimea this year. Sean Bell on Sky News thinks Putin is attacking Kyiv because he's not a military guy and Zelensky pissed him off, which is stupid for Putin. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says that the U.S. does not need to increase our nuclear forces. Basically, we've got enough nukes to beat Russia and China anyway, so we're not going to get into a new arms race, which is nice. And finally, Secretary of State Blinken, American, gave a speech in Helsinki today in which he mocked Russia as the second greatest military force in Ukraine, but he also mentioned that a ceasefire that simply freezes things in place right now would be unjust and unwise. All right, guys, thank you. I will we'll try to do more Twitch next week, but I will join you all tomorrow morning, the paid TikTok subscribers, the paid YouTube Discord subscribers on Discord and TikTok at 11 a.m. Eastern time US, as I said, and then the 1 p.m. New York City time Twitch Weekend Review at the Aravosis account. Thank you guys for joining me. Please do check out our store. I totally forgot. I was going to show you really quick. The other cool thing, we've got a store. Store.aravosis.com is our store. I keep forgetting to promote it, but lots of cool t-shirts, including t-shirts. Oh, thank you for the gift there, BMR. T-shirts designed by Ukrainian kids. We got school in Ukraine sent us several t-shirts, basically several drawings that the kids made and told us we could use them to basically sell them and get, whatever. So we've been selling the t-shirts, helping funnel some of the money back, helping send some of the money back to Ukraine. This is one that I love this one because it's girly, but I would wear this too. It's a little girl drew this and it says Zamir v Ukraini, which means for peace in Ukraine at the bottom. But I love it because you can just see how much it's a kid's drawing, just by the design and stuff. I love this stuff. I think this is I wish we could get more of these because the designs, I simply took an excellent photograph of it and was able to, then Photoshop it and did a lot of work, but they worked out so cool. Yeah. It's really like that one, especially, it just looks like a little kid painted it. It's anyway, and the colors are beautiful too. In any case, do check out our store. It's store.aravosis.com. All right, I'm going to sign off, guys. Take Sasha in the hall to play with the neighbor's puppy, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, hopefully. Otherwise, worst comes to worst, Monday afternoon, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., okay? Thanks, guys. Appreciate all your help, mods, everybody else. The TikTok gifts of I was going to say TikTok gifts from hell, but not from hell, but the crazy, overwhelming cornucopia of TikTok gifts. You guys are amazing. So thank you. All right, guys, have a good weekend.